Trace Huber of HD Staffing. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So Trace, let's start off by telling our CE Pro audience a little bit about your company and your services for those who might not be too familiar with HD Staffing. But what exactly do you guys do, and what kind of services do you provide for custom integrators out there?
Sure. We're very unique. We are a permanent placement company specifically for the high-end residential custom integration industry. We work around the United States, placing every level of person within the industry. So entry-level technicians, lead technicians, project managers, you name it, operations managers, designers, programmers, to custom integrators, again, around the country. We've been in business now for a little over 3 years. We've had the pleasure of being at CDA Expo all of those 3 years, other than the most recent virtual one, and have really tried to embed ourselves in the community. We're a little bit more unique also in that my business partner, Brent Wiseman, was an integrator for well over 20 years. I have a long history steeped in construction staffing around the country, so we feel that we're uniquely suited for the industry and filling its needs.
Great. It sounds like a pretty good combination then of the two of you guys putting your heads together on this and really knowing your audience then. And you guys, HD Staffing, so you work with both the employer side for the custom integrators and then the employees, the job seekers looking for jobs and all those roles that you mentioned. What I wanted to do is, really kind of dig into some of the services and the ways that you work with companies. And, toward that end, let's start with the employer side. What are some pieces of advice that you can offer companies that are looking to create a job post that will really get attention and get a nice applicant pool?
Well, I think often job descriptions by employers go in a couple different directions. One, they take a job description which is way too detailed and they slap it out as a post, and that kind of is off-putting to candidates because there's just too much to read to get down to maybe the benefits. Other times it's too brief and they feel like they don't have enough information to make an informed decision. So what I like to tell employers is take a job description. You should have a job description because you want to know what you need, right? And make it a more of a marketing piece, kind of a first paragraph that talks about the culture and the excitement of the company, and then an overview on what the description is of the job, and then certainly some qualifications, but the important ones, what do you really need to know? And then list all your benefits, whether they're financial or not. I mean, financial, a lot of people omit pay, and you can read study after study out there that job seekers are more apt to apply when the job pay is in there, the pay range is in there. And then if there's things like company outings or things that you wouldn't think are a benefit, get those types of things in there. That's what makes you attractive to other employers out there.
And Trace, how about on the job seeker side? What can applicants do to sharpen up their resumes these days? And do you have specific people within your company that are kind of experts in, resume writing, cover letters, things like that?
Yes, we do, Arlen. I mean, the first thing I would suggest, whether an applicant's working with us just on their own, is make sure that that the document has been proofread. That small things like tenses. I mean, it sounds small, but also at the very top of a resume, really focus on a professional summary. What do you know how to do? For a couple different reasons. If you're applying to a smaller company, it's probably going to be read, which is great. But if you're going to a bigger company, it may go through an applicant tracking system. So you want to have those keywords at the very top of your resume so it gets pulled out. Then as far as your work history goes, don't focus on objective information, not subjective. So I worked here this many years. My accomplishments were I worked on projects of X to X, dollars. Don't talk so much like I'm motivated and I've done this. Those are things that are going to come through in an interview. The resume should focus on true skills, true experience, and accomplishments. And the last thing I would say is make sure that you have a cohesive timeline. If there were times that you were working outside of the industry, sometimes people omit that because they don't think it's relevant. But you want to show that you've had continuous employment and not have to answer that or not be considered for interview because there's gaps in your employment. And certainly to kind of the second part of your question, within our firm, HD Staffing, these are the type of consultant services we offer for all of our candidates. We do resume rewriting for all of our candidates. We take their original content and put it in a format that presents them well, realistic, well, and is also easy to read for our clients.
Yeah, that sounds great. Those are some excellent tips. Um, in terms of on the employer side, then does a lot of that, do those match up with some of the common questions and pain points that you guys hear from the employers looking to fill these positions? Or are there certain things that they're thinking about that the job seekers themselves, might not have crossed their minds?
Well, I think what's a challenge for the clients, our clients, particularly the integration industry, is it's such a unique industry, right? And things were so unemployment was so low within the industry prior to the pandemic, and I'll talk later about this, but it has gotten even, the market's gotten even tighter, the demand's gotten even tighter for personnel, for technicians, project management, you name it. But one of the things we talk to a lot of our clients about is there's only so many people within the pool. CEDIA talks about it, CE Pro talks about it. And what we often advocate with our clients is look for people with similar skill sets that can learn the AV world. Look at a commercial technician because they know control systems. They just may not know your control system. Look for a project manager who's in the MEP world. They know electrical, HVAC, plumbing, something like that, and they know how to manage a project well. They just may not know Crestron or Savant control systems. Those can be trained. Project management skill sets can't. So that's one of the things we're constantly working with our clients on.
And I know you had mentioned just a few minutes ago in terms of things that installers or technicians or things outside the industry that they might not think are applicable to their resume. But I know in talking to a lot of companies, we hear things like where they say, well, yeah, we can train them to do the AV side of it. And so even if they haven't come from the AV side, there are skills and qualities and traits that we're looking for. So, are you able to, really convey that to the job seekers in terms of, here are some traps that you get into when you're looking and putting together your resume, or, different kinds of experience that you might not think is relevant, but is relevant when you're consulting with them?
Yeah, I mean, what we really, when we're talking to our clients, which is really more relatable to the job seeker, is the job seeker needs to be able to express through their resume, and then next step through their interview, that they're motivated, their energy level. Those are soft skill items, obviously, that are hard, that you really can't convey in the resume, but you can in the interview. Things like stability in jobs and all of that. But the other thing that we've seen a lot of success with is just being able to convey that you're mechanically inclined, that you have a mechanical aptitude, that you have an IT background, those types of things that they may have in their work history, that they're not putting the level of knowledge that they have in there. Let's say if they have an IT background, they kind of gloss it over. Maybe they were an apprentice electrician, but they kind of minimize the level of jobs they're working on, what have you. So talking with the job seekers to put that not only in their resume, but then talk through that during the interview process. Because ultimately, I don't have one client that doesn't say, look, I'll take a highly motivated, driven, mechanically inclined person. I can teach them. I mean, they always sometimes need the person at that time, but in general, if they have training programs in place, that's a great individual for both, for them.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of the pandemic, you did just hit upon that, and certainly the pandemic has brought its share of tough times for many employers out there this year. But as you mentioned, prior to this year, one of the things we kept hearing at CE Pro is that integrators were so busy, and recruiting and hiring were among those things that they really, those were huge challenges for them year upon year. What would you say is the situation like currently in terms of how the market has gone this year, and sort of where the market is right now?
It's skyrocketed, Arlen, even from March when the pandemic broke out. We recruit nationally, but we're based in Seattle and Southern California areas, my partner and I. There was literally maybe a 2-week kind of, oh geez, what's this gonna be? And then it just, the demand, the figurative phones and emails started coming in from current clients, from new integrators looking for all the reasons that you're reading and seeing on the news, right? You have people working from home, so they need increased networking capability, right? They have their children at home on Zoom meetings and Microsoft Teams and doing those types of things. And then lastly, they're just spending more time at home. So it's like, oh, I didn't realize that my media room is kind of poor and 10 years old, and I want to upgrade that, or my theater, depending on whatever the wealth level of the client is. And we don't see any signs of that subsiding. So the demand has just gone up exponentially within the industry for us and for our clients. We haven't had any exposure really to anybody that hasn't been busy.
So it sounds like you guys are really hopping then in terms of trying to place people and really kind of put things together on the employer and the job seeker side.
Yeah, it definitely has been for us. I mean, unfortunately for our clients, our ability to get more applicants in hasn't really changed. I will say for some neat reasons, we've seen a higher quality of applicant and communicated with that. I think a lot of people, meaning the job seekers, generally everybody that we placed is somewhere and they're looking for a different opportunity. And most times that's not around money, as I tell all of our clients and prospects. There's a lot of different things going on in our country right now. And so we're seeing people evaluating where they live and whether it's for political reasons, health reasons, whatever, but that is causing movement, good movement.
Yeah, interesting. And I actually was kind of a good segue into that question. I want to ask you, I know you talked about Southern California and Seattle, and are there particular markets of the country that you're seeing now that are hotter than others? And then within your candidate pool and the people that you work with, is it pretty common that you're finding people are, mobile and they're apt to move from one geographic area to a different market?
Yeah, we're seeing the demand is pretty much high throughout the United States. I think some areas that are, as I mentioned in an interview with Jason Knott, recently, certainly the mountain resort communities in the West have seen even higher demand in the major markets, because people who have their second homes there are kind of there, they want to stay distance, that type of thing. So those clients are extremely busy, even more so than around the country. To your other part of the question, though, as far as people moving, we've always seen that in our firm, but we're seeing more of that now for a lot of different reasons, whether it's I want to live further out from an urban area, or again, a lot of people in a positive way, I think we're evaluating where they're living and how they're living. And, they may want to go to a Texas if they want, better cost of living, or they may come to California for weather. But yes, we certainly have a lot of our candidates moving geographically. So
Sure, and I imagine different parts of the country where there might be a lot more new construction going on, things like that, all kind of factor into the equation these days.
definitely.
So naturally, companies and job seekers, they're going to explore multiple channels for these purposes. How does HD staffing measure its success? And are there certain metrics that you can track? And that way, when clients come to you, you can show them how confident that you are in your own services and the prospects of their success working with you.
Well, I think some our biggest metric is, Arlen, that most of our clients come to us the first time with a single need, right? And they go, I need this position, lead tech, project manager, you name it. And when I look at our demand right now, it's so often we make that first fill and it becomes, wow, that was a great experience. I want another person. I want another person. That type of thing. I think at the end of the day, my partner and I, Brent, are all about making sure our clients have the best people that they can get. And we coach them on doing their own recruiting along with us. Again, that you would think, well, that hurts your business. At the end of the day, if our clients are doing well, it floats all boats, right? And so one of those measurements, though, back to your metrics thing, is, the repeat business that we get. The other thing is that I think if you talk to many, and we make our own mistakes, we're placing people to companies. It's a person-on-person relationship. There's never 100% that's going to work. I think where I don't know if I'd call it a metric, but we know it's a small industry. It doesn't matter if it's 50 states and all these firms out there. you only have to talk to a few different people to triangulate on any company, whether you're a manufacturer or a service or what have you. We do a lot of consulting with our clients and making sure that they have the right people. And if something does go wrong, we're there to take the brunt of that and make sure that we do them right. But, in general, it does take us about, from a metric standpoint, it does take us about 65 to 70 days to fill an opening, sometimes 90 to 120. And we tell our clients that up front. We don't have people ever sitting on the bench, mostly because every company is different. Your competitor's idea of a project manager is different than yours. And so one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you hit upon the repeat business, and I actually wanted to ask you, I imagine, for some custom integrators that have worked with you and filled positions, they're apt to work with you again. And what about for job seekers? Do you have people even within, your few years in existence that maybe have already changed jobs or already, like you said, for whatever reason, maybe they're looking to go to another market, that they have used you again? And also, do you have them provide testimonials to other potential seekers to say, hey, if you want to hear what the process is like, you can talk to so-and-so?
Well, to your first question, have we had some people move? Yes, not a lot. We're trying to make a home. The other thing that we're very careful about from the day we opened up is that we got a lot of, well, geez, you're going to poach people and that type of thing as a recruitment firm. And having been in the recruiting industry for almost 30 years at this point in my life, ethics is everything you have as a recruiter. So unfortunately, every time we sign up a new client, that becomes a place that we're not going to recruit back into, right? And we tell applicants, once we place somebody in there, we tell our candidates, our placements, if they come, hey, I don't like it here, I want to leave, which we don't get a lot of that, but we go, you got to talk to your boss. We can't, but we do. We have people that understand that we're working on one right now in LA, actually out to Texas, all up front. And we're looking for a home, for them out there. To your second question, I'll be very honest. We have done a very bad job on the testimonial piece on the candidates. Funny, a common thread with the candidates is when you first called, I thought you guys were a scam. I couldn't believe it. And then they end up going, man, this is the greatest thing. You guys are so helpful and all that. And all we do is take the compliment and we move on to our next candidate. We don't think about getting that out there. So we appreciate that we've gotten a lot of good feedback from our candidates, and they're appreciative that there's a service out there that to be really a career coach is what we kind of say it is. But no, we've underutilized that testimonial piece.
Well, either way, Trace, it sounds like it's a definite hot time in the industry right now to be looking for new candidates, and for the candidates to really put their best foot forward and find some great jobs out there. I would imagine, from judging from everything that you've said. So, continue your great service, and, we look for a lot more good things to come, and hearing from, custom integrators that have used HD Staffing.
Thank you, Arlen. I appreciate your time.
All right, Trace Huber from HD Staffing, thanks again for talking with CE Pro.